going to do a little quick video today, and well, you may think it's unimportant what I'm going to talk about. I think it's very important. I'm going to discuss certain aspects of our history that has helped me see the light, you might say, or see the game, the show, the bullshit, is more rather what I would like to call it, because that's what it is. It's bullshit. Constant bullshit. Never ending, seamless abundance of bullshit that is put upon us. I want to talk about, well, let's go back into even the creation of ISIS. So many people understand, well, the Muslim Brotherhood, Al-Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Mujahideen, and they don't understand the Masonic aspect of those groups. But more importantly, do they understand where it began? And a lot of this began with, of course, British interests. British interest in a certain waterway. The Suez Canal. Yes, Suez Canal, and I know I've said it many times before because the Zeus symbolism is very important. And Suez, spelled backwards, is Zeus. But these waterways are so very important in our history. So the groups that, and it's not even the waterways, it's transportation. Transportation of goods, products, services, transportation is very important. Being able to link, other continents with each other, very important, okay? We know about the New Silk Road and its importance that it's going to be playing in the future in distribution of products from China and from, what we'd call the Far East. But when it comes down to it, that Suez Canal, well, because of the controlling interest in Egypt and everything else, and the political battles to gain control and make sure these rights were under Masonic control and everything else, it led into assassination squads which were created, well, by our OSS CIA. And that was under direction of basically French interest and British interest, mainly British interest. Because it's something they wanted to do. They attempted to kill the president. They didn't have much luck, so they contracted it out to America. And America's basically, you got to understand that. That's why we're always at war. Because we're the hired thugs of the world. The hired thugs. Mainly British interest hired thugs and Israeli interest thugs. And when you kind of link them all together, we know it's all the same and this, that. But we're the dirty ones. The dirty people that go out and do the dirty work. So that these interests in control of whatever the product is, or the oil, or whatever it may be, the interest is what it comes down to, the interest in that commodity, whether it's being the shipped commodity or the actual commodity itself. That's what's important to these wealthy, elite, Masonic, Zionist bullshit bastards. But the reason why I also wanted to talk about it is so you could start to see the people at play when it comes into these things, these events. The people that control it. Because when you get into these waterways, whether you study the Erie Canal in New York, linking the Hudson to the Great Lakes, and understand what went on there with DeWitt Clinton, who championed the Erie Canal when it was basically an enormous feat in itself to actually do, and thought that it was impossible by most. But when you look at it, yeah, the Erie Canal, DeWitt Clinton, and everything else, the real story is not the canal, but DeWitt Clinton and his, life as governor and his family history, and how it ties to the Erskines, and the Erskines all the way back to, well, Rosalind Chapel. If you really study these people, going even all the way through their families, you can learn a lot about them and understand who they are, what they do, and what their objectives are. And yeah, there's always Masonic involvement. There's always elite involvement. But you can understand these, who are these power players? And I'm going to get to something further in some of my other videos and why it revolves around certain areas in the world. So I want people to start looking into, transportation aspects of what goes on in the world in the major way. Major distributors, transporters, controlling interest in canals and waterways and railroads and whatnot. Because you need to understand why in certain areas, why does the French Foreign Legion have a base right next to the Suez Canal? Okay? We're going to get more into that. Why is the Panama Canal so important? Of course, yes, it links the Atlantic to the Pacific and all that. But why are you going to find so much, so many Masons and so many different interests in that area? And where all the psychological operations that are going on in these different areas, whether it's in, along the Erie Canal, the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal, or in, parts of the Middle East where, the Silk Road is going to run through. Astana, that new crazy city that, you reverse letters around, it says Satan, and they're building all that Masonic shit all over the place in the middle of Kazakhstan. When, Kazakhstan it doesn't even make sense for them to be doing that. But when you analyze it all, you analyze what's going to happen in the future, it does make sense. Okay? So, see where these properties, these areas that are so integral to our infrastructure of the world, and why they're so important, and why these people congregate in these areas, and where this power control system seems to work, where they do it. You got to remember, whether it's, getting plane parts for a false flag plane crash or a train wreck that's a false flag or whatever, you got to move shit around. You got transportation, everything else. So these transportation companies, you got to see how they're owned and how they, move throughout this world, move things, and who's involved with them, to understand who's involved in these things also. I just wanted to mention that because I seem to get tired of just saying, you got to understand that Amtrak's owned by this, how it's government granted and this and that and this and that, and nobody fully understanding the people behind it. So I guess this is more or less a plea for people to start looking into the people throughout our history that have to do with these areas, because they do play an integral role in what's going on today. And I hope that people do, because I think it's going to help you learn about what's going on by understanding the people that are involved. And there's many different people involved in many different aspects. But right now, because of, I think where I'm at, and I think a few others are at, where we need to start looking is at this particular group of people. Okay? So we can start to skip over, some of this shit. And I know it's important to understand the crisis actors and who behind it and this and that. But let's skip a few steps over to the control that it's coming from. Okay? Because we're so far behind in really doing anything to prevent these people from, continuing their bullshit, that I think we need to skip a couple steps and start trying to understand where it's coming from so that we can figure out and formulate a plan to attack. Because attacking the minions is not going to do much. The pawns are there, they help protect the queen and everybody else. But when we jump over the pawns and start knocking out a couple rooks, knights, and others, well, that's when our job becomes a little bit easier.
Ow. Talk to him. I mean, sometimes you got people going against you and you just gotta go above and beyond all that. Let's go. Straight up the top, just so you know, ain't no stopping us. Yeah, I see you been watching us. You could try, but you better off. I ain't a spectate from the audience. Why you hating from the bleachers? Cheerleaders is loving us. Grab a pom-pom, baby. Last year we was last place, this year we in first. We was hungry for the title, now we quenching our thirst. You was on your best behavior, yeah, we on our worst. Killing the competition, rolling around in a hearse. Life is like chess, except it ain't a game. Some pawns remain pawns, some pawns become kings. Think before you move, think 3 steps ahead. Peep game, protect queen. Some rooks get took, some knights get swiped, some bishops get slain. I'ma tell you like my homie told me, life is like chess, except it ain't a game. So when you gotta want it, you know my team want it. You know my team want it. You ain't no stopping us. Nah, ain't no stopping us. Nah, ain't no stopping us. And when you gotta want it, you know my team want it. You know my team want it. You ain't no stopping us. Nah, ain't no stopping us. Nah, you know my team want it.